Hi, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Books and Beaches. So it is time for me to do my April wrap up. I've waited a little bit to do this, but not too long. But I am realizing that I really liked the format that I did in March, where I kind of did a little bit of a vlog style update. And I am regretting not doing that this month, but I will use my vacation at the beginning of April as my excuse. I just kind of forgot about it, but I'm thinking I'm going to bring that back in the month of May here, because it helps me remember some of the books that I've read. Because as I begin to look at my list, I was like, some of these I can't remember everything that they were about. But that's all right, and I think you'll see that a lot of my ratings reflect that. So, the very first book that I finished in April, had to think about that for a second, was The Angel Maker, and that's by Alex North. Now, April was the month of me reading on my Kindle. I only took my Kindle on vacation earlier in the month of April and kind of just kept up with it since then. It is so easy and I forget about that, even though I have a plethora of books that I need to read and several piles staring at me over here that you will see soon in a book haul. But it was the month of Kindle reading, and The Angel Maker, unfortunately, is one that I honestly just, I can't remember. And I am sitting here looking at my computer, kind of going through the summary, and I honestly can't think of a lot of details about this book. Now, I rated it a 3. I remember it being a really slow read, and which is saying something when you're on vacation and you have all of the time in the world to read. I read in the pool like every day. And I just remember I'm like, this book is taking forever to get through. And I've liked other things that Alex North has put out, but I just really thought this one was slow. And kind of as I look at this, I remember it was like a sister and a brother, and I know there were a lot of secrets involved. But honestly, yeah, I can't remember a lot of it. And so now that I'm looking at the 3 going, wasn't even a 3. So I'll link it below. You can check it out, but it is not one that I would be like, pick up right now. But one that I would say pick up right now, and I can remember the details of this one. And once again, this is another one I read on my Kindle while I was on vacation, and that is The Perfect Marriage, and that's by Geneva Rose. Oh my gosh. I think, well, while we were on vacation, my cousin had already read this. So I kept looking at her going, is it going to be this person? Is it this person? And she's like, just keep reading, just keep reading. Thankfully, because she won't spoil anything for me. But I have also persuaded like 3 people to read it since being back home. I'm pretty sure my mom has already read it. I think a coworker had already picked it up. So good. And I know it was on Kindle Unlimited. This basically, the premise of this book is it's a husband and wife. The wife is a very well-known like defense attorney, and her husband is accused of killing his mistress. His mistress is found in their lake home, in that bed, murdered. And so she basically steps up to represent, the wife, I should say, steps up to represent her, what's looking like a very guilty husband. And it takes you on a ride from there. I am not going to say too much about it, but it is far and away not what I expected it to be. And the whole time you're grappling with how could she be representing her husband when he clearly looks pretty darn guilty and she didn't even know he was cheating. And if you have read this and would like to talk about it, feel free to send me a message. My email is always linked below, because this book just blew me away. 5 stars for sure. The next one I picked up, and this one I actually have, was Sold on a Monday, and this is by Christina McMorris. This was my in-person books club's pick for April, and this one was all right. I gave it a 3.5. It's definitely a historical fiction, 1931. We've got a couple of different reporters for different newspapers, and you get their different perspectives. And basically this reporter named Ellis takes this photo of these children for sale, and that photo blows up and kind of gets posted all the way around, as viral as something could be in the 1930s. And he feels really bad and goes on this kind of, I don't want to call it an adventure, but this journey of trying to find these children that undoubtedly get sold and trying to get them back to their mother. So, and then we have a second character named Lillian, who had some involvement with that, and their stories kind of intertwine. The thing I didn't like about this book is I just expected more. So it was good. I liked the storyline, but I was like, I was waiting for something more to happen. And that might be because I read a lot of thrillers. So that's my own fault, but it wasn't bad. I know people that have loved this. I am pretty sure Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library, who is also in my book club, really loved it, because she had read it before. So just take my opinion with a grain of salt, because I'm used to big things happening with thrillers, especially coming off The Perfect Marriage. So I gave that one a 3.5. Then the next one I picked up, and I have been influenced by the internet, by BookTube, by Book Talk, and I finally picked up The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, and this month I really put it to good use because I'm pretty sure The Perfect Marriage was also Kindle Unlimited, but The Housemaid was fantastic. So this woman is basically freshly out of prison, I believe. She was in prison for 10 years, and you find out why. And she gets hired to basically be like the maid at this house. She's live-in, does all the cooking, all the cleaning, tries to take care of the child, even though the child really doesn't like her. And she is thinking that this wife is a complete nightmare. And, you know, really connects with the husband, thinks the husband is great. And things don't always appear to be what they are. And that's where I want to leave it because I don't want to spoil it. But this book, was fantastic. 5 stars for sure. I think it deserves all the hype that it's getting currently. After that, I picked up Missing Clarissa, and I am going to get the author's name wrong unless I look it up right now. This is by Ripley Jones. This is one that I had off of NetGalley, so I was trying to kind of, if I was already in a Kindle mood, I was trying to get some of those ebooks off my NetGalley list read. And this one was kind of your typical YA, I'm just pulling it up here, thriller, which is usually my jam. I rated this one a 3.5. It's compared to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and it has a very similar storyline. So we have 2 girls that are basically assigned a school project, similar to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, that they're looking into the murder of this character named Clarissa Campbell. And they are trying to figure out what happened to her. They do a lot of, interviewing different people that were connected in her life. And, of course, they're trying to get to the bottom of it. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, this is another one of those that I just can't remember all of the details. This is why I'm going to be starting the more vlog style in May again. But like I said, it was very, very comparable to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder if you have read that one. But I think this one fell short, especially in the ebook. I kind of picked up the audiobook because this one had already been published by the time I was getting to it. I know. NetGalley, I gotta get better on that. And I think the audiobook did a really good job, other than the fact it fell in they didn't have different characters' voices for the 2 main characters, the 2 girls, and you were getting their different perspectives, but they would give you different characters for the people that they were interviewing. So that definitely fell short for me there, and it just wasn't as powerful as the other ones it gets compared to. So I gave that one a 3.5. The next one I picked up is all because of a coworker at work, and that was Ghost. And that one, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just double checking my list, is Jason Reynolds. The only reason I picked this one up is because where my office is, and many of you have seen the background in a couple of my other, quick clips that I've done, it's that wonderful book room. She teaches a class in the library on the days that I'm there. And they were reading Ghost together as a group. And so I was constantly hearing their conversations about it. And I finally was like, I need to know what happened. Because I'm not there every day. I'm not hearing what the story is. And so I picked this one up, and it's a great story about a kid who joins a track team, even though he was never really a runner. I think he called himself like a baller. He was a basketballer. And it's just really cute. And the process that he goes through and kind of grows up as he goes into this track team. And I gave it a 4. I mean, it's more middle grade. It's never perfect because it's not written for me, but I enjoyed it. And I think I will continue the series because you'll get the perspectives of his different track team members. So I just had to pick it up. It was like a quick 1-day read because I wanted to know what happened after hearing the kids talk about it. So after that, I got a little nonfiction listening in, and I listened to I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I knew I was always going to pronounce it wrong if I didn't look at it. And this one was super interesting. I mean, I wasn't like a big Nickelodeon kid. I didn't really watch the show that she was on, but I've heard really good things about this book that she wrote. And it's just such an interesting perspective about the world growing up in showbiz. I mean, she really did grow up, you know, being an actor. Her mom was constantly putting her in those situations where she would try to get all these acting jobs until she finally landed this show, and then subsequently I think the show that was based on her character. And this book probably has a lot of trigger warnings in it. You know, eating disorders, body dysmorphia, drug and alcohol abuse, you name it, she kind of did it. And it was all these things that we probably wouldn't have known, and she wrote about it, and just kind of the interesting perspective on the effect that her mom had on her life. So I think this is one of those that I would suggest reading or listening to on audiobook because she does read it. Now, I will warn you, I am usually a person that speeds up my audiobooks. Most people think I'm nuts, but it is how it is. I watch my YouTube videos the same way. But she talks extremely fast. So this one I wasn't able to listen to like as quick as I normally do because yeah, she's just speeding through it. So take that with a warning, but I always do think it's an interesting perspective when the author themselves is the narrator. So after that, I wanted to stay on my Kindle kick and stay within the story that I had already read. So I picked up The Housemaid Secret by Freida McFadden, which is the sequel to The Housemaid that I had read earlier. I don't want to say too much about this one because it will spoil some things. So you definitely want to read The Housemaid first before you pick up The Housemaid Secret, because the story of the main character continues. But this time she gets hired by another couple to work in their New York City penthouse. And the wife is kind of always locked away, and there's just a lot going on in this household. And once again, I was kind of blown away. I was grappling with what I was going to rate this one, and the whole time I was like, okay, I think this is kind of a 4-star book. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, and then I got to the ending, and the ending pushed me. Actually, I have down here written down that I rated it a 4. And then I'm looking at Goodreads and I rated it a 5 because I was like, I'm pretty sure the ending pushed me into rating it a 5. So I did rate that one a 5, but like I said, don't want to give too much away. Make sure you read The Housemaid first. After that, I picked up another one of my NetGalley books, and that was Someone Is Always Watching by Kelly Armstrong. And of course, this is another one, and this would be one of my more recent reads that I can't always remember what happened. And now I'm looking at this one, trying to refresh my memory. Oh yeah, it was almost, and I didn't realize this when I picked it up. I thought it was going to be thrillery, and it was, but it was also kind of sci-fi. It was to the point where some of these high school students do some really violent stuff and then have absolutely no memory of what happened. And there's a company involved because it's a very special high school where you're only going to this school if your parents work for this company. And I wish I could remember the name of the company. And it's like a STEM school, so more, you know, science and technology based. And yeah, a lot of weird stuff starts happening, but people aren't exactly remember why they're happening, and things are getting covered up. It was interesting, and I think with YA, you always got to take it with a grain of salt because it isn't always written for an adult perspective, but this one was just weird, and it was kind of violent in some areas, so I gave it a 3.5. After I finished it, I just wasn't sure what to think of it, and that is not a great description of it, I know. But yeah, it was just different. So I will leave it linked below so you can check it out if you feel like it, but it wasn't my favorite YA that I've ever read. We'll just put it at that. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't my favorite. And then the final book that I picked up in the month of April is actually my in-person May book club pick, and that was Stacey Billingham's All the Dangerous Things. I have the book of the month copy because it came out in December, but I'm finally picking it up, and I think I had been saving it because I knew we might choose it, and we ended up choosing it. So this one was pretty good. I ended up giving it, I think I gave it a 4. I didn't even write it down on my sheet here. Yes, I gave it a 4. A mother is on this process of trying to find her missing son. It's been about a year once we jump into this book, and her son had been taken from their home, and they cannot find him. I believe they found a toy like off in the swamp, but other than that, there is like no trace of where her son has gone. And so she has kind of lost it a little bit. She goes to different like true crime conferences and speaks just in hopes that someone either hears her story or, you know, somebody that she'll see has a connection. And she even keeps track of like all the lists of who's there, because they think a lot of times people that have kidnapped kids will come and listen and the whole 9 yards. And you see her working with somebody that she meets on a plane who has a podcast, and he's like, I want to help you get your story out there and, you know, tell it. So we've already solved one crime before, let's help you solve this one. And it goes from there. There were a lot of different twists and different connections, and for a while you're thinking she's crazy. Sadly, I even got a little annoyed with her. I was like, all right, lady, we gotta start healing. And I say that from a place where I guess I don't understand what it would feel like to lose a child, so I don't know. But so some of that kind of frustrated me, but there were a lot of twists and turns I just didn't expect, and that's what ultimately led me rating it a 4. I know people have loved this book. I quite enjoyed it, but it wasn't like in that love status. So take my review with a grain of salt. I know there are a lot of other people reading this one currently as well. So that is everything that I picked up in the month of April. Like I said, I think for May, I'm going to switch back to kind of the more vlog style format, just because I tend to remember a little bit more about the books right after I read them. That is the nature of reading a lot, and I felt like I was reading a ton in April, which I did. This was a great list, but I just tend to remember them when I'm talking about them right after. But stay tuned, because there is going to be quite the book haul happening very, very soon. Let me know about the things that you read in April. Is there anything that I should be looking to pick up? Other than that, I look forward to hearing those thoughts in the comments. As always, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.